Just
New Jersey has the pirate perch, and it's only found in the southern reaches of the state, towards the Pine Barrens. They are completely nocturnal and pretty much only come out at least 2 hours after darkness. Otherwise, they bury themselves as far under the riverbank as they can go.
Now, is there a big visual difference in a pirate perch and a regular perch, or is it mainly that the R is a hard R?
hello and welcome to NJ Multi-Species Podcast. I'm Joe Santiago. No, I'm just kidding. That's my best Joe Santiago impersonation. This is Chris Pereira, and Joe is not here tonight. We have a special guest co-host, Kevin Meininger.
I can do my Joe impersonation.
Let's see it.
Oh, I'm just 8 inches shorter than normal.
Oh, all right. Nice. So we don't have Joe tonight. This is episode number 28. I almost forgot. Where the hell's Joe?
Last I heard, I got a text from Max saying he was last seen being drugged under a bridge by the river gnome. So I'm gonna have to sort that out when we're done here.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think he might be with Garrett right now.
So Garrett Daniels, the river gnome, future guest on this show, possibly kidnapped Joe Santiago. Is that what you're saying?
It's possible. Motives are yet to be known.
Well, we will look into this, and we will get some information back, and hopefully get back to you guys with the real story. Until then, so fishing reports. Kevin, did you fish this past weekend?
This past weekend was a complete wash where I live out here by Basking Ridge. The Passaic River was up out of its banks for most of the time, so I wasn't going anywhere near that. And I just don't care about fishing this time of year enough to get soaked like that. We had an inch of rain in like a couple hours.
So the guy that I get to co-host the show tonight does not care about fishing right now, is a giant pussy, and does not want to suffer for the fish. Is that what you're saying?
Also had my daughter's 4-year-old birthday party, and I made a strong argument, but my wife didn't think fishing was.
Yeah, you should have led with that. Anyway, so a couple of the guys, not you nor me, made it up there. You because of your daughter's birthday party. Me because I was waiting on another trip that also didn't happen. But a couple of guys, bunch of guys from Mayhem Group, headed up north, upstate New York, and got in on the actual Mayhem salmon fishing up there.
I'll tell you, the pictures and videos we got from that's some serious mayhem that goes on up there.
Yeah, it looked a bit much. It looked like trout opening day in New Jersey on some kind of experimental steroids. But I mean, plenty of fish were hooked. Not as many were landed, but that's just the way it goes up there. I mean, there's just guys everywhere. Everyone survived the trip, which is nice. But yeah, I was up salmon fishing the weekend before in a much calmer manner behind the lodge we were staying at. It was much tamer, but it definitely looked like some anarchy up there. And I wish Joe was here to tell this story that I heard. I'm sure you heard it too. So, and add in any details, but apparently on the trip up, Max kind of came clean with Joe and just almost broke into tears about how happy he was just to have gotten this new group of friends from the podcast and the Facebook page and all that.
Yeah, I believe he used the words, "It's changed my life."
With like you could visibly, according to Joe, visibly see the tears
He
in
was
his
red
eye.
in the eyes. Definitely watered.
And hey, you know what? Like he's doing what we made this podcast and the Facebook group and all that. We made this all so that people had another way to kind of network with other anglers and, you know, find people to fish with, talk to people about fishing, all that stuff. So,
Oh yeah, I text every day with people I didn't even know 8 months ago.
Oh, look at this. I mean, you're co-hosting a podcast last second because Joe just disappeared.
Kidnapped.
Yeah, yet to be determined. Yeah, like I said, I didn't go up. I was actually planning on going for one of the species that I've never caught, sheep's head. I had one of our past guests from a couple of weeks ago, Scotty Sevens. He left Saturday, Sunday, and Monday open for me and Katie to come down and try to catch a sheep's head. And the frickin' storm just would not let up. It just ruined the whole thing. I held on hope, just waited to see, and he had to pull his boat out of the water. He got it back in. He checked around. He couldn't find any signs of sheep's head, and he said that usually a storm like this could be the end of the sheep's head season for that year. So basically, anytime I try to catch a new species, Mother Nature just shoves it right up my ass.
I was getting ready to try and catch some hybrids from shore on Friday night, right as that storm was starting to roll in before it got heavy. And naturally, I find out from my wife that the catering was messed up for my daughter's birthday. So I went from like in my truck, ready to go hybrid fishing, to cooking for a bunch of 4 and 5-year-olds.
Isn't that just hot dogs and mac and cheese? Like, what do you mean?
I had their parents coming over too.
Well, too bad. You're at a kid's party. You eat kids' food.
That's fair. I had beer, so.
There you go. Hot dogs and beer. What do they want? Just, you know, not for the kids. Kids just get the hot dogs. Man, you're full of excuses for not fishing, but I do have one piece of good news as far as my fishing goes. Before the storm, before I waited for the sheep's head and was disappointed, I did get out muskie fishing. So Mark Madosky back in New Jersey now, totally moved back into New Jersey. He texts me. His boat is still down in the Washington, D.C. area because me and Joe are actually going back down with him at the end. I'll double check. I think at the end of next week, we're going back down with him to get his boat, but we're also going to fish for blue catfish down there on his stomping grounds down there. But so he doesn't have a boat up here yet. He texts me, says, "Hey, dude, like, let's get out fishing." I said, "What do you want to fish for?" I could jump out there for the afternoon. So Thursday afternoon we meet up, and he wants to go muskie fishing. Dude, I haven't muskie fished in over 2 years, just because, you know, I don't know, no one ever wants to go. And it's just something I think I've mentioned before that I just don't normally do by myself. I don't know. You done any muskie fishing?
I've never caught a muskie. I've never tried to catch muskie. The only muskie that's ever even been caught while I was present, we were fly fishing for shad on the Delaware. And one happened to take a shad spoon.
All right. Did you land?
The flight was insane. It
they
took
land
about
it?
45 minutes to catch that fish.
He landed it.
Yeah. Yeah, he landed that.
Dude, it's crazy. I gotta be, I guess you too. You and I gotta be the only two people that have never caught a muskie by accident.
It feels like it.
like I've never caught a muskie by accident. I've hooked them by accident, or at least I assumed one. Some of them I've seen. Others have just felt heavy and then cut the line, and I just assumed it was bigger than a pickerel, and it's a place that doesn't have pike. I just assume it's a muskie. But like they always cut me off. And you hear all the time, yeah, I hooked a muskie on 4-pound line, 6-pound line. And like, how the hell did you land that thing? Just like the amount of luck that you need to get that thing is crazy. Anyway.
I've lost fish ice fishing on waters that don't have pike. And it had to be a muskie. But I don't tell these stories like I've hooked one, I fought one, because you'll never know. You're ice fishing.
That's true. Well, anyway, so I was kind of excited that like this Mark was a huge muskie fisherman when he lived in New Jersey. And so it kind of is like a boost to your confidence that, hey, I think we could have a successful trip if he wants to go. So that's what we did. And I want to say maybe 20, 25 minutes in, we're throwing some lures around. 25 minutes in, I switched my lures. I felt like, I'm like, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to try something else. I switched to a big muskie spinnerbait, and no joke, maybe within the next 10 casts, I get nice hit, set the hook, bring a real nice muskie to the net. And the best part of it was, and I think while I was fighting the fish, I think I even just yelled out, fuck Joe, because Joe went out of his way to tell us we weren't going to catch shit. When Joe found out me and Mark were going muskie fishing, he said, you guys are getting skunked. And Mark said, nah, we're going to get, I guarantee at least one. He Babe Ruth guaranteed one muskie. And then he went on and he said, you know what? Probably 3, maybe. I said,
you got pictures of that fish up on the Mayhem page, right?
Another funny story. I cannot post anything to the Mayhem page for another couple of days, but you know how that goes. I did share it from the podcast page does have that picture. And so anyone listening that isn't following the podcast page and is just a mongrel on Mayhem, you didn't get to see it yet. But I put on the podcast Instagram page. I put it on the podcast Facebook page. But no, it's not in the Mayhem group. As soon as I am unshackled from the Facebook police, I will put it in the group. But yeah, so he literally Babe Ruth these muskie, and I got a nice picture of it. It's a real nice, lengthy fish, healthy fish. It actually tangled the spinnerbait in the net really bad, and we had to cut the lure to get it out quickly, and took the picture real quick. And I put it in the water just because it took us a little bit extra time to cut the lure and get it out of the net. And I was going to quickly measure him, but she just kind of power tail slapped my arm and just took off. So was released nice and healthy. Did not get a length on it, but it was, if I had to guess, high 40-inch range. I don't think it was a 50, but it was up there, I think. One last part to the story, right? So we're all pumped up, right? We keep fishing. Nothing for the next couple hours. We hammered the crap out of all these spots. And I was just like, you still Babe Ruth, like you guaranteed a muskie, and that was a nice fish. He's like, yeah. He's like, if it's all right with you, I think this was a nice day. We got a nice fish. He's like, if it's cool with you, it wasn't quite sundown yet. We could have fished for another 30 minutes maybe. And he's just like, I think I'm good. If it's cool with you, we could be done. And I was like, yeah, I got one. And like, it would have been nice if you got one too, but yeah, we could be done. It's cool. And he goes to put his rod down, and then he just stands back and goes, well, last cast. And he just whips a cast like right by the boat ramp because we're right there, ready to like go. He hooks a damn muskie on after he did this. It wasn't a big one. It was just a normal size, maybe 35, 36-inch muskie, right? But like, I'm like, dude, I don't think I've ever seen a successful last cast fish. Right? Like, I mean, have you?
The only thing that holds more weight than Mark saying Mark doing what he says he's going to do when fishing is you having to sign autographs when you go into a shop right.
That's fake news.
We're going to discuss that later.
Look, some guy asked me about fishing in ShopRite. I didn't recognize him. It's probably my fault. I probably know the guy. I have no idea. But if he's listening, let me know who you are because I didn't get a good look. I wasn't. It took me by surprise. I don't know. But anyway, nice try trying to change the subject. Back to the muskie. Have you ever seen a successful last cast fish? Like a real, like one last cast and it catches a fish?
No, never. Unless you count trolling, the last 45 minutes in a circle. Sometimes you get one there.
No, that's just one last cast. Trolling, that doesn't even count. One last lap.
Almost none of my casts catch fish. The last one's not going to be any different.
But even, I mean, everyone's done the last. We should go. Well, last cast. And then you take 20, 30 more casts. Maybe you catch a fish during that time frame. I've never actually. This guy, Mark, was done. He was done fishing, and he just, last cast. It caught up in a muskie, nonetheless. Like, we bring it in. Probably wouldn't even, he takes a picture of it. His last cast muskie, his first muskie back in New Jersey after he's been away for all these years. And I'm just like, do we keep fishing now for the third? Because you did say maybe 3 after you guaranteed the 1. And I mean, we laughed a little bit and no, we actually left. That's also probably the only time I've ever left after catching that last fish.
Yeah, my first muskie is going to be entirely uneventful. It's going to be caught on like a saltwater rod, fishing for catfish with super heavy tackle. I'm not even going to know it's on the hook. It's going to be like a 12-inch muskie.
You know what? I'm going to try Mark's Babe Ruth method. You're going to catch a muskie this coming weekend during the catfish contest.
I hope so, because these little noodle arms aren't going to bring in a game-winning flathead.
Well, I'm just segueing into this catfish tournament. So this weekend, got a big catfish tournament to benefit Deva. So if anyone missed it so far, we're living underneath a rock and you don't know what's going on. Dave had some cancer come back that he had previously beaten. We're hoping he's going to beat it again. And to help him and his family out, Laura Yeats is running a catfish contest on the Delaware River. It's this coming weekend. All the information is posted pretty much everywhere. You'd really have to be living underneath a rock to not know about it at this point. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask, drop a comment. We'll respond, send an email, or go on the Facebook page, NJ Multi-Species Mayhem Fishing on Facebook. All the information there. It's this Saturday. I believe it starts around noon or 1 in the afternoon, and it goes till I think you have to weigh in your fish by 12:30 in the morning.
Is it 12:30 or 1?
I saw both times. I think 1 is kind of like the meeting time where they're going to like announce the winner and stuff. That was my understanding. And I think you have to physically have your fish weighed in at the hutch by 30 minutes after midnight.
Oh, then let's go with 12:30 so no one shows up at 1 and blames it on the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, you're not blaming me for that. You catch a winning fish, you bring it in and get it weighed in. But yeah, so all the proceeds are going to help Dave and his family with this round 2 battle. And on top of that, we have a Yeti cooler that we're raffling off. You could buy tickets again for $20 a ticket. All the information is you got to do it through one of the outlets, either the Facebook page. If you don't have Facebook, contact us anyway. Like we'll connect you with Laura if you want a raffle ticket or whatever you want to do the contest. Like contact us in any way you can. Email, comment below. We'll hook you up with her and get you what you need. Other than that, so bear with us because Joe usually does this, and like Kevin said, he's under a bridge somewhere most likely. But by the time this episode airs, fluke season will be closed. All right, fluke season closes September 27th, I believe, right? That's yesterday from when this airs.
Yeah.
I know it's always confusing because we pre-record the episode. But so fluke season's closed. All the saltwater fishing is pretty much going to turn to sea bass and porgies. And after the storm came through, I'd be willing to bet the striped bass fishing is going to get pretty good as well. I did see a couple of reports roll in. So I know Captain Ron's Fisherman's going to be out there as soon as fluke season closes. There's a couple of days before sea bass opens. I don't want to speak for him, but he usually switches over to porgies and then sea bass. If the sea bass fishing isn't good, he's going to porgy fish. And obviously, if the stripers come through and you get on them from the party boat, you're going to be doing that as well. You do any saltwater fishing, Kevin?
I dabble. I usually only saltwater fish when someone invites me to either go from the surf or wants to bring me onto their boat. I don't do it too much on my own, but I have gear. Someone wants to reach out and take me on their boat, I have all my own stuff. I'll go with you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not inviting you. I
didn't want to go with you. This is for any of the viewers that can outfish you.
Oh, well, I just wanted to make sure you didn't think I was inviting you with me.
No, absolutely not.
Is this your daughter whose birthday it was?
Yeah, this is my daughter that just turned 4. Brooke, you say hi?
Happy birthday.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Daddy blamed you for not fishing this weekend,
Would you have wanted to go fishing with Daddy?
Yeah.
See? Well, there you go. You say, my daughter wants to go fishing for her birthday, and then you go.
We'll go fishing this weekend, okay?
So before we bring our guest on, just real quick, our guest next week is fly fishing guide for Lake Hopatcong Guide Service. In case you missed it, Aaron Graybill has extended his Lake Hopatcong Guide Service trips to include fly fishing lessons and trips with Matt Calfano. So we're going to have Matt on next weekend, and I wanted to confirm this with Joe, if we could find him soon, hopefully. But I think we're planning some kind of pretty big giveaway to go with Matt coming on as a guest and talking some fly fishing, which is definitely Joe's wheelhouse and not mine. But do you fly fish, Kevin?
I do that significantly more than I saltwater fish. I have an uncle who's really into it, so fly fish for shad a lot, trout up in North Jersey. Every couple of years I go up to Martha's Vineyard for striped bass.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I thought I was zinging you again. I didn't realize you actually did fly fish.
No, I have a real nice stretch of river, like a mile and a half from my house.
I don't live that far from you. So that means it's pretty close to me, too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably under 20 minutes from your house. Not a lot of pressure there.
Are you inviting me fly fishing?
We'll see. A lot of episode left.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go over. So let's go ahead and get our guest on here. So our guest tonight, Kevin, is he does something really unique. It's something that I've never done. I may never do it. I know you do it a lot by accident. Catches a lot of tiny fish, but not regular species, right? He catches these super unique species, species that you can't really catch by accident. We're not talking about like 5-inch perch, stuff like that. But he's basically like a species collector. I'm really excited to talk to him because it's something that I don't really know anything about. It's real cool. We got Drew from Instagram. His Instagram is Fishbro. What's up, Drew?
It's going.
Hey, Drew, nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
This is Kevin. He catches a lot of small fish too, but not on purpose.
My specialty is 2-inch perch on 3-inch lake trout jigs. I really had a good hand at that this summer.
Oh, that's money.
So Drew, is it true to call you like you're a species collector, right? I mean,
Sure. That's not a bad way to describe it.
I mean, you played Pokemon when you were a kid, let's be honest, right?
It's basically how this started.
I mean,
Except I abandoned it by age 8.
Yeah. So in all, like, you catch normal game species that we all fish for as well. I've seen you catch all them, but it's these other species that are really interesting to me, and I'm sure other people that. I mean, just to be honest, I'll probably never target these, even though it's so interesting to me. Maybe I will one day, but I am super curious to find out more about it. I know you fish all over the East Coast, or do you pretty much stick to the East Coast?
At this point, it's all over the world. I've been
Really?
microfishing in multiple countries. I'm planning new trips for new countries coming up in the next year or so. And we'll see how much we can expand my life list.
That's awesome. I wasn't aware you traveled that much too, but so you could probably write a book about this stuff. Is there a book about this? Like, what's your guide to getting what was your guide to getting into this? Did you just kind of jump in, start winging it, or did you have a mentor?
I loved catching new species and keeping track of what species I was catching. And after a couple of years of running through the fishes of New Jersey, fishes of New Hampshire, I began to realize that for the efforts I was putting in, I wasn't getting the yield anymore because I was literally running out of species to catch.
Right.
And at that point, I decided, let's see how small we can go. And I went to the local fly shop, and they'll sell bare hooks that you can tie a fly for like a size 22. And that's plenty small to catch most of the micro species in this area. And that started maybe age 11 or so. And since then, it's been just year after year getting new species, new areas, figuring out the patterns. And at this point now, I've caught every single freshwater species of fish in New Jersey that can be readily accessed.
Really? Because I was going to ask you, you've literally caught every species, no matter the size, small, big, whatever. You've caught every species that is available in New Jersey?
All but 3. The only reason the other 3 aren't accessible is because 2 are in a private pond in New Brunswick, and another one is in a private pond in Madison, New Jersey.
Are we talking about like those fish that aren't supposed to be there?
Yeah, the Asian swamp eel, the bighead carp, and the silver carp. I've caught silver carp out in Indiana.
Okay, but just specifically, so you know these fish are in New Jersey
Mhm.
somewhere, but
I
they
know
don't
exactly where they are, and I know I can't get them because fishing's not allowed in those water bodies.
they don't really count anyway. It sounds like. So all right, so here's I kind of want to ask you some questions based on assuming that people listening to this, there's going to be some people that want to try this maybe. I know my buddy Brandon is interested in it. He started kind of doing it on his own recently. I think he even made a brand new separate Instagram for himself where he tries to catch them. He's been getting it done. He's off to a good start for sure. But so you said you to get the hooks that are small enough to target these tiny species, you're gonna be able to find them at a fly shop.
I'll call it the introductory level into microfishing. Once you become a bit more serious, there's another pack of hooks that you can invest in. They're from Japan, and the hooks are called Tanagos. They are the smallest hooks available on the market. They are, if you know what a size 30 hook is, they're smaller than that. They have a hook point that is barely 2 or 3 millimeters long, and the line attached to them is, I think, 0.5 pound test. So if you hook into anything on them bigger than 3 inches, it's pretty much breaking off immediately.
Yeah.
But once you get down the knot tying with those smaller hooks and learning how to be, there's a certain level of gentleness that comes with tying 0.5 pound test line. And once you get the hang of that, it's game over. You can target just about any small species you would think of.
Now, are
So
you pre-tying those hooks to your leaders in a vise at home where you have a magnifying glass, having that
The
ready
hook,
in the field?
the hooks come pre-snelled, so that's an advantage. I don't have to tie the hook to the line. However, you do have to tie the line to whatever rod you're using. I end up using probably about 2 feet of 10-pound braid just because it cuts through the wind very well, and I'll tie that directly with a uni knot to the Tanago line.
So all right, so what size line? This has got to be like the smallest size line that they make, which I don't even know what that is. Is it less? It's less than a pound break strength.
Yeah, like half a pound breaking strain.
And where do you get that? You have to order that special as well. I've never even seen that even at a fly shop.
It comes pre-snelled with those Tanago hooks. They have to be special ordered. There's one pack available on Amazon. They're okay. The good ones come from Japan.
Or you have to specifically order them from these guys.
Yeah.
But if someone wanted to get started and didn't want to, bring this stuff in from Japan, if they go to their fly shop, get the smallest hook available and the smallest tippet line, you could get started for sure on some of these tiny rare species, right?
You don't even need the white tippet. You can just tie it directly to your trout line. 4 pound monofilament works perfectly fine.
Oh, okay.
And then you can just sight fish or blind fish for shiners.
Now, what rod are you using? A super lightweight fly setup for this, or just an ultralight, or what rod and reel are you using for this?
You can use just about any ultralight, but what I use is a Tenkara pole. It is the one that's used for fly fishing. I buy a 10-foot one off of Amazon. It is very cheap and very durable, easily replaced in case you accidentally step on it when you get excited for catching something. Oops.
I guess
They
it's
are.
done that.
Oh yeah, they're very useful though, especially for the telescopic nature. I mean, it'll collapse down to this size and it'll be a 10, 11-foot rod. You can also fish with it short. So you can pull out maybe 2 sections and hold it at a 18-inch length and use that for fishing right in front of you instead of just for the long distance.
See, Kevin, are you taking notes? Because if you had this stuff on your boat, you could sell people on you're catching the small fish purposely.
You've never fished on my boat, Chris. I don't have to do any kind of investment to catch microfish. Comes naturally.
Drew, let me ask you this. So, I definitely want to get into a little bit of some of like the really cool, super rare species. Get some pictures up on here so people can see. But just talking maybe some of the more easily accessible ones. What's one of those? Like if someone wanted to get started, maybe not something so common as like something someone would use as bait, but something kind of entry level in New Jersey. What are we talking? What species do you think?
I think it would definitely have to be the tessellated darter. It is a small relative of perches and walleyes. They're in that perch family. The darters comprise of well over 250 different species, only found in North America. And these darters, I think the largest species of darter only gets to a length of maybe 6 inches or so. So they're all very small fish. The tessellated darter is very common in New Jersey. It is in almost every river in pretty much south of Essex County. You can find tessellated darters everywhere. They're completely benthic, so they just hop around on the bottom, and unless you're looking for them, no one ever sees them. They're not used for bait because no one catches them for bait. They get about 3 inches long or so. They do show different colors during the spring, so you can get some ones that are nice chocolate brown rather than their usual kind of freckled tan color. Any small piece of worm or caddis larvae on that size 20 hook right in front of their face, like you really have to put it right in front of their face, they'll eat it instantly.
And this is not. I mean, you're not catching this by accident. I mean, I guess maybe if you were drifting a real small, tiny fly fishing, I guess you might run into these every once in a while. Or
I've caught two by accident ever in like the last 8 years or so, and it was only because they were on beds and I couldn't see them under their rocks.
nice. All right. What about all right? What if we get a little bit more advanced? Not too advanced, but what's something a little rarer than that in New Jersey that someone can maybe look for?
That would have probably be a pirate perch. Pirate perch are
Pirate perch, you said?
pirate perch.
That's right up your
They
alley, Kevin.
they are a very, very ancient lineage of fishes called the Procopsiforms, and those include your pirate perch, your trout perch, sand roller, and your cave fishes. So completely subterranean species of fish
Does New
that
Jersey
never come
have?
out.
Sorry, does
New
New
Jersey,
Jersey have all of those, or just?
New Jersey has the pirate perch, and it's only found in the southern reaches of the state, towards the Pine Barrens. They are completely nocturnal and pretty much only come out at least 2 hours after darkness. Otherwise, they bury themselves as far under the riverbank as they can go.
Now, is there a big visual difference in a pirate perch and a regular perch, or is it mainly that the R is a hard R?
Pirate perch get, I think they're maxing out around 4 inches or so. They're completely slate gray with a very vibrant yellow underside. They only have the one dorsal fin. They don't have an adipose or a second dorsal fin. They also have a very unique anatomy feature. When a pirate perch is born as a fry juvenile, its anus is in a normal place for any other fish towards the anal fin. As the fish matures, the anus migrates up the body and ends up in the throat. Because when a pirate perch is in its nest, it backs into the nest. And in order not to fill its nest cavity with fecal matter, the anus is here so it can expel waste without having to fill up its nest cavity.
I mean, I saw Kevin's eyes light up when you said anus, and then I don't think he caught anything after that. But that is, I mean, that is weird.
It's one of the more unique fishes you could find.
It's similar to most of the guests on this show. This fish can't kiss its own ass.
I mean, I think whatever. We're just gonna ignore that comment, but I mean that's really cool, honestly. So let me ask you this: let's say let's leave New Jersey for a second. What's the coolest species you've ever caught, no matter the size, place, whatever. What's if you had to pick your number one coolest one, what is it?
Are we talking freshwater or saltwater?
Do you want to pick one from each, or
Sure, why not?
I wasn't gonna distinguish. I was gonna let you pick one one fish, but if you want to do one from each.
It's already too difficult a question.
All right. I hear you. Let's do one from each.
Let's do freshwater. I think easily one of the coolest fish that I ever caught was the spring cavefish. Spring cavefish are another member of the Percopsiform family. They're related to the pirate perch. They live
One
in
shit out of
underground.
its mouth too.
Yeah, no. They have that normal anatomy. They
right.
live in caves exclusively in the Midwest United States, along with 4 or 5 other species. The spring cavefish is unique in that it will venture out of its caves into above ground waterways at night to spawn during the summers. Spawn, feed, migrate from spring to spring. And they're, again, completely nocturnal fish because they live in caves. There are other different species of cavefish that are completely subterranean, never coming out of the caves, sometimes being up to half a mile beneath the surface. Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, that very famous Mammoth Cave, it has Hoosier cavefish in the depths of its waterways.
So I mean, if they never come out of these caves, I guess you ain't catching them.
Well, you get a spelunking permit, you can make it happen.
Have you done that?
For the spring cavefish, I was lucky enough that it was in a above ground spring, so I had to just venture into a highway underpass, and underneath it at 1 o'clock in the morning, I found a school of spring cavefish, all just muddling along the bottom feeding.
I mean, you probably have some pretty cool stories, and it's kind of a shame in this way that like you're not catching these giant fish and posing for a picture and posting a picture of a giant fish, and that's what look at that fish. But these are awesome looking fish. They're just small, and the stories you must have for catching them. I mean, like that one right there. It's just a shame, I guess. What I'm trying to say is it's a shame that people probably don't naturally see the small fish and think, oh man, that's an awesome catch. But I mean, honestly, and again, anyone who's interested in following any of these catches and stories and stuff, because there's tons of them. We're not going to go through them here, obviously. Drew's Instagram is fishbra, which fish BRUH, right?
Yep.
Do you have anywhere else you post any stories or pictures, or is that pretty much it?
I do post in a few Facebook groups that are surrounded around North American native fishes, microfishing. One of the groups is the Art of Microfishing. It is on Facebook and it's completely dedicated to microfishing. It has multiple tutorials on how to get started with microfishing, what hooks to buy, rods, etc.
Nice. Well, and wasn't even aware you're on Facebook. Feel free to join our Facebook page as well and post some of these cooler catches. I'm sure guys would like to see them at NJ Multi-Species Mayhem Fishing. That's our Facebook group. Most people in there aren't even aware there's a podcast, but that's a whole other story.
Bit like NANFA.
What was that?
A bit like NANFA, the North American Native Fishes Association. We have over 15,000 members in our Facebook group, and we have maybe a couple hundred due paying members.
Oh, that's the way it goes. People are just oblivious to the world around them, but that's all right.
Now, spelunking permit. After you get your fishing license, you tell them you want a trout stamp. Do you just ask for that spelunking stamp also, or does that take a little more to get?
That's a bit more of an access permit. That takes a couple months. You need certain gear, etc. That's a whole another area.
There's nothing like that in New Jersey, though. This is you
Yeah.
traveled for this. What that was Kentucky? You said you caught that fish at?
I caught that the spring cave fish in Tennessee. Its range is
Tennessee.
restricted to certain caverns in southern Tennessee.
Okay. All right. So that's your favorite freshwater catch. You wanted to share your favorite saltwater catch too, because just in case we weren't clear, this microfishing is not just freshwater. You catch a lot of saltwater fish too. What's your favorite saltwater catch? You know what? Actually, what's your favorite saltwater micro catch in New Jersey and just generally speaking?
In New Jersey, it would probably have to be the short big eye. Short big eye are an ultra deep water species of fish. They usually live on seamounts. They are just a small group of fish, not really related to much else, maybe the soldier fishes. But the short big eye will spawn, and occasionally during upwelling currents, you'll have groups of babies wash in to the Jersey Shore and other up and down the East Coast. They are bright, flaming red in color. They have huge eyes, hence the name Big Eye. The eyes are so large, in fact, that you can take a headlamp at night and scan the saltwater, and you'll be greeted with eye shine from this little nugget of a fish, and you can walk over to it and catch it.
So you do this in like the shallow, like in the back bays and inlets, stuff like that.
Yep, precisely.
And are these fish pretty common if you're looking for them and trying to catch them, or is it still really rare, even if you're specifically targeting them?
Most of the rare saltwater species that we get in and around New Jersey are something called tropical strays. Now, the tropical strays are normally southern fish. I mean, we can get fish from Florida, Gulf of Mexico. My buddy recently found a species of fish never recorded outside of the Gulf of Mexico in the Manasquan River. It
Wow.
was swimming around in a little back bay. It's called a hardhead halfbeak. I never caught one. I've never seen one before. He was able to net it. But a lot of these tropical strays just wash up as young of year fish in mats of eelgrass, and then they all die off typically by mid-October as the water temperatures drop, and they don't really have the ability to migrate back out to their reproductive populations.
So they basically they get lost. They survive here while the water is the right temperature, and then they just die. They don't find their way back. It's not a because I know we had a guest, Scotty Sevens, on a couple of weeks ago, and he kind of specializes in sheep's head, which is also a a southern fish, but they come up here every year. They've kind of established themselves in a way. These are different. These fish kind of and we've seen it. We've seen it with all kinds of game species too. We see more cobia up here every year. It seems like just the warm currents are just must be coming up here. The water's warmer for the summer and stuff. I
But
think
what that's actually representing is a range expansion of several species. Atlantic crevalle jack, which are your typical jack crevalle,
yeah.
they're migrating into New Jersey and New York waterways to spawn. And then these young, they've been shown absolutely 100% certainty. The babies that are born in New Jersey and in New York waters are getting up to a size where they can migrate back out to their reproductive populations. And that brings in a lot of questions, especially for gray triggerfish. In Florida, there's a moratorium on fishing for gray triggerfish during their spawning season. In New Jersey and New York, it is a free-for-all. You can keep as many gray triggerfish as you want. They're always coming into our waterways to spawn. Same reason that there's a moratorium for them in Florida. And I mean, they're like a spear fisherman's dream. Flat, slow, and full of meat.
Yeah. And I mean, and we kind of touched on that same episode that I was talking about with the sheep's head. It's kind of a catch-22, right? You want to protect these fish, but when you start, when you're counting on, government agencies to protect stuff for you, I mean, that opens up a whole can of worms. That's the first off. Second off, I guess basically same thing we said last time. We kind of, I wish every fisherman took it on themselves to regulate themselves. I guess it's kind of it's a utopian dream, but if everyone kind of, only
implements a slot limit, it will be very easy. 2 fish slot limit.
yeah, like if everyone just kept what they needed,
16 to 20 inch, good slot, keeps enough fish.
yeah, it's a touchy subject with a lot of guys, but and I can see both sides of it, but when you're getting all these fish that are kind of now establishing themselves in our waters, and like you said, a free for all, they're not regulated at all. That has some dangerous implications, possibly. So, Kevin, you want to add anything to this, or?
Me and my friends, very responsible. We do our best, never catch anywhere near a limit. So you really don't have to worry about us.
So again, not by choice. Kevin is very responsible.
Keep adding that, but let's just call it responsible.
So Drew, I asked you before. I didn't give you a chance. Your favorite saltwater species catch of all time doesn't have to be in New Jersey.
I think my number one actually came over the weekend. It was
This weekend?
Yep. I caught after many, many years of searching for them. My buddy actually found the spot after we had been on the same journey for many years. And he finally found a population of them in Peconic Bay up in New York. And we went there. Well, he went there and caught one. And then I went there and caught an adult hog choker. They are a migratory species of flounder. That is, yep, they're called hog choker. It's not as bad as Eastern Creek chub sucker, but hog choker is pretty bad as well. Hog chokers spawn in river mouths, and then their young, which are maybe that big, they migrate as far upriver as they can get, all the way into fresh water. And then as they mature, they slowly make their way back out to the mouth. Now, this species is reported to have a maximum size of 7.9 inches, and my buddy got a 13-inch plus one, and I got a 10. So it raises questions as to how big do they actually get.
And did you have a way to document like the length of them with like a I know I've seen you have like a magnified container with water that you sometimes take a picture of the fish in. You have one of those with like a ruler attachment or something, or?
They do sell them. I usually don't bother because I break photo tanks like you've never seen before. I'll go through one every 3 weeks or so, either from just being scratched beyond use or it gets left somewhere.
But so do you? I guess my point is, did you document these two fish, the lengths on these fish, with a photograph or something? Do you report it to anyone, or?
Citizen scientist work is important. Who's going to take it in? The best way that, at least I do it, is I'll put my posts onto iNaturalist, which is, it's similar in aspect to FishBrain, but less stupid. iNaturalist is for citizen scientists. You can upload any living species onto the app. It'll give it its location if you choose not to obscure it. You can put down notes as to the details, catch date, etc. You can do it for birds, fish, reptiles, etc. I use it for mostly fish. I keep a lot of the locations obscured for various reasons. For saltwater fish, especially the tropical strays, there's issues where people like to net them and sell them. Now, it's fine. It is legal. Seeing a guy walk out with a jar this high full of short big eyes, knowing full well that not one of them will do well in the aquarium trade, but will sell for $250 a pop, not my cup of tea. The hog choker spot is being kept obscured simply because there's a recreational fishery for them where people actually harvest them for food, and they're completely unregulated.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's like just like what we were talking about before. They're not technically supposed to be here, so nobody regulates them, and people are going to take advantage of it, unfortunately, which sucks. But
Hogchoker is a native species, thankfully. They are found all the way up, as far as I can tell, to the Massachusetts, New Hampshire area. They can be found all the way down to central Southern America.
so you can catch those in New Jersey. You just were never able to find the
I
right.
searched for over 10 years without success. They
Jeez.
are very common, however, which is the interesting part. If you do any kind of trawling survey, dragging large nets, you will absolutely find hog chokers in almost every brackish water body in the state. However, they're incredibly well camouflaged, and the water they live in is usually just pure mud. So you'll no chance at seeing them, and blind fishing for them, even with really small hooks, not a feasible way of targeting them.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I know Kevin's definitely taking notes on the hog choker. I know he's always wanted that as well. Unfortunately, you're born with what you were born with, Kevin. Drew, I mean, it's all real interesting stuff. It's crazy to think how many species there are in New Jersey that most of us anglers, will never ever see unless we specifically microfish. I mean, how many species are you up to? Just before I let you go, what's your total amount of fish species that you've caught?
I'm at 383 now.
How do you keep
383.
that personal catalog? Like you mentioned the websites, but you obscure your locations. Do you have a personal app or website you're using where you can really keep all the data on all the different fish you're catching?
I do keep a life list just in a folder of the families, the species, and then a picture of the fish. On iNaturalist, when you do obscure locations, you still can see where you caught it. It's just obscuring it for the general public view in the app.
You're using a paper folder. Make sure the government doesn't encroach on your microfish data.
Believe me, there are many backups in place with many of our life lists. There's a lot of us that do this life listing sort of thing, and we'll protect that life list. I have a file on my computer that has it, flash drive, backup server. Can't lose it.
So he's real life Pokemon master. There's no other way to describe it. Hey, I mean, Drew, it's awesome. I hope you'll share some of the fish on our Facebook page as well. And anytime you want to fish for normal sized fish, let us know. I know
I'll take you out for some micros.
You know what? We could trade trips. I'll try it under the guidance of you. I don't think it's something that I would take on myself, but I'd be game to try some microfishing under your guidance.
Sounds like fun.
And if I know you've caught all the species, but if you have any desire to catch a very big version of any species, we could try to single out some of that. That's kind of what I usually try to do, and other times I just fail miserably, like Kevin does 99% of the time. Yeah.
Plenty of saltwater targets to play. Target.
Do you have a lot of species saltwater that you have? You caught saltwater species, all of them too, or no? Or you just want?
No, not. There's never an end to the number of saltwater species that you
Even
can catch.
I'm just talking New Jersey.
Oh yeah, infinite. Like you can get any species of fish that occurs from here to Brazil during the summer. It is all a possibility.
Migratory. But
yeah,
native New Jersey saltwater species, you have gotten them all.
Trying to think of ones I'm missing. I'm missing most of the sharks. I've never really done much shark fishing. Most of the rays.
You got to buy new hooks. You got to buy new hooks for the sharks, I think.
Reinvest.
Yeah. All right. Well, Drew, it was awesome having you on. It was cool talking about this stuff that I bet you most anglers don't even know this is a thing. I personally didn't until I came across your Instagram a couple years ago. So I think it's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And I might take you up on that microfishing offer.
Sounds like fun.
Great
All right.
meeting you, Drew.
Alrighty. Pleasure seeing you guys.
All right. Take care, Drew. Well, what'd you think about that guest, Kevin?
So yeah, I've got to get out. I've got to try what Drew does because it sounds a lot more interesting than catching bass every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that most guys, like I said, don't even know existed. I ran across Drew's Instagram again, which is Fish Bra, and not Fish Bra like something you'd wear.
BRUH.
Right, like bro, but in a cool way, like Fish Bra.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I ran across his Instagram a couple of years ago, and it was unique. I mean, it's unique. There's no other way to put it. It's unique as hell. It's pretty cool. These are not fish that you're going to accidentally run into. Just real neat sort of sub section of angling in general.
Yeah, actually, just found him right now. Gonna give him a follow.
There you go. Yeah, anyone who's listening that's interested, definitely check him out. I'm sure there's other guys that do it, but Anyway, so I guess Joe is not showing up at all tonight. He left
that way. Yeah.
Yeah, he left us all out to dry. This was not planned at all. I literally texted Kevin probably 2 minutes before we were going to get started. I said, "Hey, Kevin, you want to guest co-host the podcast tonight? Joe's gone."
I was working on putting my trolling motor back together. Your trolling motor is not supposed to be in parts like this.
Yeah, well, I feel like you've had a lot of experience fixing broken trolling motor parts. That's not your new one, is it?
To be fair, it was only new to me. And now that I've been taking it apart, I can tell the guy I bought it from has also had it fixed in the past. So likely I'm the third owner. The tool is still good, though.
I have had to take some of mine apart. I think I do have spare parts laying around. If you need anything, let me know. But as with anything else, which I'm sure you know, no matter how simple or easy you think it's going to be or how that it should be, it's going to be a major pain in the ass. So
I'm at the complete rebuild start of this trolling motor. So I thought it was going to be just seals. I thought I was going to get out of it for $20. No, we're invested.
Oh God, that sounds like an absolute nightmare. So you could blame Joe for wasting some of your time where you could have been frustrated doing that. But
luckily, the Delaware is going to be too fast this weekend for me to need that trolling motor all too much.
Is it supposed to rain again this week?
We might get a little bit of rain, and it's going to crest later in the week. It'll be slowing back down by the tournament. I've been assured by Dave and Louie that it won't be bad. Should be good conditions out there.
If Dave and Lou are saying it's going to be good, then I am.
Who else is there to trust?
No, I'm confident in their in what they say. So. All right. Well, we're going to look for Joe. Hopefully everything's all right and the River Gnome didn't do anything too terrible to him. And Kevin's going to get back to fixing his trolling motor for the weekend. And hopefully we'll see a bunch of you guys at the Benefit Catfish Tournament contest for Dave.
All Kevin? Right, Chris. Thanks for having me on. Hopefully Joe's out there.
Yeah, and whatever. We'll find them or we won't. It doesn't matter. If he doesn't show
up every week if I had to.
Yeah, if he doesn't show up by next week, we'll just have you on again, and we'll see you at the Catfish contest, Kevin. And best of luck, and best of luck to everyone. It's going to be a good time.